subscribe to my YouTube, bro.
I'm taking my I'm gonna beat the shit out of you. Wait, hold on. Let me get my mute. Time out. Bro.
You're dead. You're dead. Thanks for the XP, buddy. Just killed your buddy. Now you're dead too. You're dead too. What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy. Today I'm going to show you the best melee builds in New World for PvP. There's a couple different variations which you're going to change depending upon team comp as well as on what you're doing. If you need more burst, pretty much you're going to be rocking a Greatsword. Need more overall utility, you're going to be rocking GreatAxe. But the staples of your build is really just going to be GreatAxe, hammer, Warhammer, and then Greatsword. And then every now and then you can also throw in like a Hatchet if you want just a little bit more 1v1 survivability for the cheese. But overall, just the three main weapons that I'm going to recommend that you use if you're going to be a melee DPS or really just a melee bruiser in PvP, or Warhammer, Greatsword, GreatAxe. You need these three levels. I'm going to hop into the build and skills here. Show you guys what I'm talking about. All right, so let's start with weapons. So like I said, right now I'm rocking Fury Warhammer. However, instead of Fury, you could use the Blackguard's Warhammer. It's also really good. I'm rocking the Bloodbrain Reaver, in which it has enchanted, which it gives me increased light and heavy attacks. In my opinion, both light and heavy attacks are both really important for GreatAxe because heavy attack, while it is really strong with GreatAxe, it's a little bit harder to hit. Sometimes my combo in PvP would be one light and then do it heavy, or if they're really close and trying to pressure me, my heavy attacks on Greatsword will honestly beat most people's skills. As long as it's not like the last hit of crosscut on Greatsword, I can pretty much just I can just use a heavy attack in order to pressure them, and then the second I dodge one of their abilities, I can go into my ability combos. That's why Enchanted is really important on GreatAxe for me. Keenly Empowered obviously gives you empower on crit. Really easy to crit, especially if you're attacking multiple targets with Maelstrom. And then, I mean, Keen is just self-explanatory. Keen, it gives you critical, vicious, self-explanatory, gives you critical damage. Keenly Empowered on crit, like Fury is just overall just. If you crit on a heavy attack, it will literally take somebody from 60% to 0. It's insanely strong. So those are my two weapons. And then the Greatsword. So obviously, everyone's gonna have the Blade of the 19th for PvE. I use this as corrupted damage, but for PvP, it's not best in slot. For PvP, it's best in slot for boss gear, not crafted gear. I'm not gonna really be going over too much crafted gear in this because it's really expensive to craft gear and it's really RNG whether you're gonna get legendary. I don't really recommend it, to be honest. But right here I have the Blackguard's Greatsword, which gives me keen, 11% critical chance, and then fully charged heavy attacks deal 20% additional damage. That is huge for Greatsword because Greatsword has the best heavy attacks in the game. It moves you towards the opponent while doing massive damage. And then with passive in the blue tree for Greatsword, they're also going to be I always want to say super armored. They're going to have grit. Okay. Keenly empowered. Again, you like you have to have that on almost every PvP weapon, in my opinion, because getting that empower on crit is just gonna cause your next attacks to just be so much stronger, man. And then obviously I'm rocking Gambit gems on all 3 of my weapons. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and show you my hatchet as well. I'm using Blackguard's hatchet because if I ever go hatchet build, I'm going full 300 strength. That way I get grit on all normal attacks, and hatchet is mostly just normal attacks. I mean, you're gonna use a berserk to stop yourself from getting hit, but berserk does not have grit. In order to properly use hatchet, you have to have 300 strength. That way you have grit on normal attacks, heavy attacks, and light attacks. And then it comes with keen and keenly empowered, which are both really good. If you could get a GreatAxe or a hammer with thwarted strikes as well, it works because it's a lot easier to get grit with your skills on GreatAxe as well as hammer. Like both of your main hammer abilities are gonna have grit, and then your main DPS skills as well as your mobility skill on GreatAxe has grit. But it's just a little harder to get grit for hatchet. That's why you need 300 strength like mandatory if you're gonna rock this build. Okay. All right. So outside of weapons, I do not currently have the best in slot heart gem or heart rune. What I really want for the heart rune, it comes from a need. It's detonate. Obviously, I don't want the major rune of detonate. I haven't really wasted much time with runes because these are all placeholder. But I mean, grasping violence for PvP is really good. And then for PvE, like for DPS, I'll use the cannon blast. Okay. And then for gear, I'm rocking a medium set because I started off light. But the one thing I noticed about light is, for one, you're really squishy. I mean, you might do a little bit more damage. And then for 2, right? The thing about light is you're limited with your dodge rolls. With medium gear, I get a lot more stamina regeneration. It's overall for me, it's just better to be wearing medium. Just better for the dodge cost. It's just overall much better. You get 3 dodges instead of basically 2, unless you're spacing them out really well in light armor. And then it pairs well. It makes you a bruiser, makes you more tanky, get more survivability. So I'm rocking the medium helmet with strength. The Raiders hat gives me freedom, reduce slows, refreshing, reduce max cooldowns, and then resilient. And then my chest piece, Constitution. I'm rocking physical ward on all of these, by the way, because majority of people on my server are all rocking melee. There are very few like casters, so I'm specking for the meta. Physical aversion, vigor and bleed for those dot heavy builds like muskets and bows. Refreshing cooldown again. Eat those max cooldowns reduce. Again, on my gauntlets, I got refreshing cooldowns. You notice that's a trend. I need those cooldowns. A little bit of elemental aversion, another vigor. I got shirking fortification. If I could get shirking fortification on every piece, I would take that over almost everything for PvP, because on dodging it gives you fortify and damage absorption, which just pairs so well with the physical ward gems. And then I have refreshing, reduce max cooldowns, and then another resilient. And then for my boots, I crafted these, or I had these crafted. However, they don't have they're not legendary, so I'm missing another stat line. However, I do have shirking fortification, which again, that's something I really wanted, and then resilient for more PvP crit reduction. So I am missing a stat line. However, for me right now, most of this gear is best in slot. It pairs really well with my build. It can do what I need it to do. And then for accessories, so I'm rocking 3 strength accessories. This strength accessory comes with health and refreshing. I can't change the gem. If I could, I would change it to another physical absorption. This one comes with physical ward, hardy, max stamina. You need that max stamina. That is best in slot for me. And then keen awareness. Again, crit. Huge, huge, huge. This ring is favorite ring in the game. My favorite ring. Doom Chance earring. I had to farm like over 90 dungeons for this earring. The drop rate's really bad, but it is so good. Refreshing toast gives you potions cooldown and then a regeneration health. And then obviously it's another strength earring. So I am getting a lot of regeneration, a lot of absorption, and a lot of fortification from my build. It pairs really well, and I did not have to craft too many pieces. I now have a lot of gold to where I can continue to stack gold and continue crafting pieces later. Now, this is my setup for GreatAxe and Warhammer, right? But the second I put on a Greatsword, let's say I want to put on my Blackguard's Greatsword. If I went Sonic Greatsword, which is a good alternative to Blackguard's, I wouldn't have this problem because of strength. But because a Greatsword is Dex, if I want to swap out either my hammer or my GreatAxe, in the situations you will swap these out. Let me just tell you that. Okay, if I need more DPS and burst in a group fight, I'm gonna go hammer Greatsword. If I'm like 1vx and I don't have anyone to protect, and I just have to worry about myself and I can dodge roll, then I'm gonna go GreatAxe Greatsword. GreatAxe Greatsword has the most burst potential and the most damage potential. However, you're not gonna have the grit and the CC breaks of Warhammer. So for group play, Warhammer Greatsword is good DPS, but for overall, GreatAxe and Warhammer. And then, like I said, you have the alternative of going GreatAxe. Hatchet and then Greatsword. That's like seldomly I'll use that. All right, so now that you know what situations to use the weapons, like I said, let me show you how you work this Greatsword into this build. So let's say both of my other weapons are strength, so it doesn't really matter which one I go. But let's say I go GreatAxe, and then into Greatsword. Okay, because I just did that, I don't have 300 strength anymore. I now have 35 Dex, 277 strength, and then 190 con from item buffs. I have an item buff for some reason. Usually they'd be around 150 con. It's a little high right now. Not sure why I have that item buff on. But anyway, so my stats are now imbalanced. I don't have the full 50 dex from strength. So as an alternative for this build, I will pull out my dexterity amulet and replace it with my strength amulet. And this fixes my stats to where I now have over 50 dex, so I can get the crit bonus. And then now I still have 250 strength, so I'm still getting that last strength bonus before 300. Okay, and obviously I still have 150 con. So that is how you will work a dex weapon into this build. You have to have another dex accessory. Okay, and it works the same whether I go Greatsword in Warhammer or Greatsword in GreatAxe, because both of my GreatAxe and Warhammer are both strength and strength. Okay, and all of my PvP weapons have. Okay, cool. Now you guys understand my gear, my weapons. Now let's look at skills for each weapon because I didn't really cover that. So we go to weapon mastery. So for GreatAxe, this is my setup. The reasoning behind this is if I light attack, it moves me forward, and if I heavy attack after a light attack, it's gonna pull the enemy towards me, and it's gonna give me grit on heavy attack. This is why I say if you do rock the thwarting strikes with GreatAxe, it's really good because you have grit on normal attack, you have grit on charge, and you have grit on maelstrom. And then obviously we're using gravity well with the increased burst damage. You could opt to go for the extra fortify. You'd probably want to swap out your heavy pull if you want to go fortify. However, I like the heavy pull because it just gives me the extra chance to get the enemy closer to me. That way I can continue comboing. All right. And then maelstrom, you want to go all the way down to no reprieve. Maelstrom is not good until you get no reprieve. The same way reap is not that great until you get fatal attraction. This is because of the insane extra damage, and then the extra hit on maelstrom. It gives you grit during this attack. So it pairs really well with threading strikes, but then it gives you insane damage, insane burst potential, man. And then we have greed. I get empower on light attack. That's why I say my combo on my normal attack, best DPS normal attack combo, or my weave combos for GreatAxe is going to be one light attack into a heavy attack, because you want that empower so that your next heavy attack is going to penetrate and is going to be empowered. You want all the damage bonus so you can get that heavy attack out, right? And then GreatAxe attacks against foes lower than 30% health, have 15% critical chance. It just destroys. Absolutely must. Bloodlust is an absolute must if you want to rock GreatAxe. That's the whole point of GreatAxe for chase down and for mobility. GreatAxe is the most mobile weapon as far as melee characters go. It's even more mobile than Hatchet because of charge with the 20% bonus. Hatchet only has Berserk, but with GreatAxe you have charge and Bloodlust. It is the most mobile melee build in this game. Critical gains, keen edge. I don't have to explain these. Anything with crit, you slide it, man. It doesn't require thought. Wherever your attacks are blocked, you get a very good stack of 15% damage. So if anyone ever like blocks your normal attack and then you can go into a heavy attack to break their guard, it's gonna be extra crit damage. And then feed, just for the extra health when I'm normal attacking and I'm low. Obviously, those are my GreatAxe abilities. For Warhammer, Shockwave, and this is your combo, right? Shockwave into Wrecking Ball, okay? Shockwave, obviously, is going to inflict weaken, cause them to do less damage, and it's going to have grit, and it stuns them and staggers them. So good. So good. Doesn't have a lot of damage, but when you pair that Shockwave to stun them, stagger them, they're just sitting there looking stupid. You hit them with a Wrecking Ball to knock them down. It has extra grit, so if you get threading strikes on a hammer, it's going to do extra damage. And then, so after you use those two abilities, you're going to want to finish off with a normal attack, because they're going to have less stamina. You're going to be exhausting them with each hit. You get grit for heavy attacks and damage reduction, so you're going to want to charge that heavy no matter what. Chances are you took damage, so you're going to do an extra 35% damage, and then you're gaining empower on heavy attack. So finishing off your combo with a heavy attack is going to be really good. Contemption is a very good option, honestly, because it does more damage to targets on 30% health. You could swap out one of these, or you could potentially swap out stimulated reduction, or you could, if you're like really good, you could swap out meteor or crater, because 4 meters is not that long. It really depends. You can swap out like really any one of your like last abilities for Contemption if you want that finish ability. However, I find my opponents running a lot, so I usually try and finish with GreatAxe over Warhammer, because GreatAxe just has more speed, and if you get caught with Hammer out and then you miss that heavy attack, you kind of have to chase him down with GreatAxe anyway. Yeah, those are my Warhammer abilities and passives. And then I have my Greatsword abilities and passives. This is an absolute must. Blade Honing, base damage increase 3% for Greatsword buffs. Perfect Vigilance, if you're hit at full health, you get a Fortify. Now, if you're gonna rock this without 300 strength, then you're gonna want Unflinching Blade for the grit on your heavy attacks. You can definitely get by without this, without 300 strength. However, it's just, I mean, like, I prefer the 300 strength, man. I really prefer 300 strength. I really just prefer to have grit on every attack if I want to throw it out, because sometimes on normal attack as well, and just not having grit on your attacks just makes it a little bit more risky. But if you time your attacks, it's not that big of a deal. And then I'm going for the pure DPS with reduced cooldowns for Greatsword, because Greatsword is all about consistent damage and burst damage. So if I can, let's say I'll onslaught in and then charge a heavy attack. If I land the heavy attack and they're not doing anything special, I can go into a second heavy attack into like a cross cut, because they're usually low. But if I relentless rush in and I charge a heavy attack and then they're also starting a skill, I'll usually dodge into a cross cut. And then when you're trying to attack, right, or if you're chasing down a healer or if you're chasing down a running opponent, you're going to be using Skyward Slash that way. Skyward Slash is not really a huge combo skill because it doesn't have grit. It's more of a chase down skill or a surprise skill. You get someone from behind, you caught someone off guard, you're chasing someone, etc., etc. The passives in this tree are pretty self-explanatory. It's just all damage. Increase base attack damage, charge heavy attacks, give armor pin, because your heavy attacks on Greatsword are probably the best in the game. Gain haste after using onslaught, any onslaught ability, usually relentless rush, like really good chase down or initiation. Critical comeback, gaining extra stamina, crush the weak. Critical hit chances increase when you attack foes with a debuff, which you're gonna apply a debuff with Skyward Slash and Rend. Step and strike after dodging, gain 10% in power, and you're pretty much going to be dodging into other abilities with this build because you have so much stamina. You're pretty much going to always stay below full stamina, so you can just dodge to stay on top of an enemy, dodge heavy attack, whatever, dodge into relentless rush or relentless rush, heavy attack into a dodge, into a cross cut. You want to dodge before your main DPS abilities with Greatsword always. Okay, and then like I said, your main weave combo is just one heavy attack into a second heavy attack into a light attack. If you can get the full combo chain off, but typically someone will be casting a skill by then. You can trade with one heavy attack, but I wouldn't take too many trades because typically your heavy attack on Greatsword is going to be harder hitting than pretty much any other ability other than like the last hit of crosscut, or you don't want to trade with something that's going to stun you with like a Warhammer, but it's definitely worth it to trade with Greatsword heavy attacks usually, typically. And then the last tree that I want to show you guys is my Hatchet tree. I am missing one ability, but I'm using throw or aim throw, and then the extra critical throw. I'm using rending throw because reducing damage absorption is just huge if you're chasing a running opponent or whatever. Raging Torrent has the same damage. You can also take off Raging Torrent for infected throw to inflict weaken to weaken your opponent, or you could also do infected throw social distancing or rending throw social distancing. Any combination, but the thing is, social distancing doesn't do a lot of damage. It just gives you an extra dodge and invul. So you'd pretty much social distancing to root, or you can social distance into a dodge forward to get the slow up on the opponent while iframing, or you could even use social distance in melee range. But it's a really good skill. It's just, however, I just prefer the pure damage if I'm going to go Hatchet for rending throw into Raging Torrent with the full line of Berserk, so that I can be uninterruptible. It can't be staggered. Nothing stops me with Berserk. And then I'm going the full damage, 3 successful light attacks, gives me power. And I usually start my combo chain with 1 heavy attack so that I'm already having power. And I can continue the empower stacks with light attacks. Fortifying strikes for the extra fortify after I'm normal attacking. It does help. Defy death, obviously, so that I get the 3 seconds of immortality. And then after like 2.5 seconds, I'll usually pot Frenzied Purge to remove all bleeding poison, because if you're bleeding and poisoned when you're at 3%, then you might just die from DLT damage if it's like a musket or something. Really good to just remove that. Against all odds, increase base damage, especially if you're around a group of enemies and you pull out your Hatchet. You want to do as much damage as possible. The way you can get in, get out. 50% damage bonus is probably one of the largest damage bonuses out of any passive tree in the game, but it's situational, right? GreatAxe does have some pretty good damage bonuses per enemy around to you, but Hatchet's really good. Basic attack deals 20% more damage to target below 30% health. Obviously, you just want to burst people when they get low. I have that below health trait on every melee line. All right, though, guys. Those are my weapons. Those are my skills. Those are my passives. That is my build. If you have any questions, comments, please drop them in the comment section below. Peace and love, you guys.